Let's take you live to Bradford in West Yorkshire, a city that's been bracing itself today for a demonstration which could see clashes between a far-right group and its opponents. We're talking about the English Defence League and Unite Against Fascism. Mike McCarthy's there for us. Mike, what's happening?
Well, at the moment the police have been gathering in increasingly large numbers to try and push back both groups of protesters. Having planned this very carefully and kept both sides quite a distance away from each other, there are two events taking place today in Bradford. One, an English Defence League demonstration, as you say. Another one, a demonstration by Unite Against Fascism and associated groups. The idea was that they would be kept about 500 metres apart, but for some reason, and as yet we're not clear as to how or why, the two opposing groups seem to come very close together. I'm talking about a few yards, if that. And just 10 minutes ago, we saw smoke bombs, stones, bottles being thrown primarily from the group of English Defence League protesters over the road to largely Asian protesters who were exchanging insults, one group with another. It turned very ugly at one point. The police, as I say now, have strengthened their own line between the two groups of protesters. They've pushed the English Defence League demonstrators away from the opposing group. There's one line of police vans in between the two groups now, a line of police horses and a line of police officers. I did hear two officers actually down on the ground saying to each other when they saw the smoke bombs being thrown overhead in fairly sort of sarcastic tones, well, that lot were searched well, weren't they? Obviously expressing some surprise perhaps about the quality of the searching. I have to say that they have had metal detectors out. They've been shepherding in the two groups of protesters through the metal detectors, but I guess that they wouldn't manage to locate things such as bottles that have been carried in. It does seem to have quietened down now. You can possibly see extra police officers in strengthened helmets being brought in now to add to that line between the two groups of protesters.
Mike, the devastating, terrible riots of 2001 still fresh in the minds of many, not only us who work in the media and who are interested in news, but those people who live in the city themselves. Particularly important the police get the balance on this demonstration today right, so that it remains just that, a demonstration, and a static demonstration at that.
That's right. The English Defence League had applied to march through the city, and with the approval of the Home Secretary Theresa May, the council banned that march. And as I say, part of the project for today, part of the programme I should say, was to keep these two groups a fair distance apart. There is another demonstration taking place, as I say, about 500 metres away from this group, the English Defence League supporters at the moment. But the very threatening situation that developed just 10-15 minutes ago happened when a group of Unite Against Fascism supporters and, as I say, associated groups managed to get very close to the English Defence League. Despite the heavy police presence here, they managed to get within shouting distance of each other. You can possibly see now that the police are moving into the group of English Defence League supporters. A little bit of a fracas apparently going on there. This is, of course, nothing like the scale of those riots that you mentioned in 2001. We should say that, but yes, you're absolutely right. That is still, or they are still fresh in the minds of many people living in Bradford, and the fervent hope on all sides here, the council, the police, all the various agencies involved, is that this demonstration today would pass off peacefully. Now, we've not heard of any arrests, although I've seen some people being arrested myself, one or two. I've not heard of anyone being injured. I certainly haven't seen anybody with injuries, and at the moment the police do seem now to have contained what looked briefly like a very ugly situation.
Mindful as well, Mike, just thinking about the beginning of those riots in Bradford in 2001, that it was a national front march that kicked off all the tensions in the first place, which is why we're talking about police keeping a very keen eye on events today. We can see they're out in huge numbers to make sure nothing like that happens again. And as we understand it, the police working in partnership with the people in the city in Bradford, we understand a community celebration event called Be Bradford, Peaceful Together is also taking place today, and the people of Bradford might like to take a better look at that today.
Yes, there's a group called We Are Bradford, which is a coalition of trades unionists, faith groups, community groups who are holding what they describe as a peaceful multicultural celebration. I went over to look at that gathering earlier, and it was entirely peaceful, with a band playing, people singing, some speeches, 300 or 400 strong, I would say, over there. Certainly at one stage outnumbering the number of EDL protesters, but since this morning the group of English Defence League demonstrators has grown. Several more coaches have arrived this afternoon from various parts of the United Kingdom, and this seems to be where the focus of the police attention is at the moment.
Doesn't seem to be a wide demographic. Looking at the supporters of the English Defence League at the moment, the pictures that we have at least, showing white males, 20 to 30, possibly 40 years old. One type of person, it seems, making a demonstration today in Bradford, not representative of the entire community at all.
I think that's a fair comment. They are, as you say, primarily young men who are white, some of them masked. Most of them not. They are now listening to speeches quite peacefully, it would seem, and if the police can manage to hold this situation, hold the line that they've now developed between the two groups, then hopefully everything will pass off very peacefully. But the incident earlier just goes to show how much real animosity there is between these two groups, and that there are people in there, although they may well be the minority, there are people within these two groups who seem determined to cause trouble. So police have an extremely difficult job on their hands today, but as things stand at the moment, peace has returned.
A police spokesman reported on Wires, Mike, is saying there will be significant high-profile policing today to keep in order, to ensure public safety, and they're saying West Yorkshire Police's role is to facilitate peaceful protest. If anyone commits a criminal offence, they will be dealt with fairly but firmly, the police not tolerating damage to the city or acts of violence today. Mike.
Again, although we shouldn't draw too many parallels, of course, with the riots of 2001, a lot of police officers were injured then. It was 300, in fact, were injured. £32 million worth of damage was caused. So, as I say, with that being fresh in the minds of people in Bradford, there has been a very concerted effort to make sure that peace is maintained today. The proposal that the English Defence League had put forward raised fears of a repeat of those riots, and that's the reason, I think, primarily why the Chief Constable of West Yorkshire, Sir Norman Bettison, wrote to the local council seeking a ban because of the risk of serious disruption. The council can't incidentally impose a ban of that kind on a march through the city centre without the consent of the Home Secretary, hence Theresa May's involvement. But I think the ideal situation for everybody today was to let the different demonstrations, the different protests take place peacefully, that there would be a strong sort of line between those two particular groups, a strong cushion or buffer, if you like, so that they wouldn't meet. So I have to say, I think some people here on the ground are fairly surprised that these two opposing groups managed at one particular point to get so close to each other, with missiles, as I say, raining down from the sky at one particular point. But as you say, everybody now, I think, hoping that that was just a one-off situation that flared up, that these two groups will have their own demonstrations and then make their way home peacefully.
Mike McCarthy in Bradford, thanks very much indeed. So bottles, stones and a smoke bomb then thrown during demonstrations by supporters of the English Defence League, who you can see there in our live shots from Bradford today, and their opponents from Unite Against Fascism, located just a few hundred metres away. There they are on the other side of that police cordon in the centre of Bradford in West Yorkshire. We'll keep you up to date with developments there here on Sky News. Stay with us.